Hey, it's Nick, CEO and founder of Ethereal Fitness. Today, I'm going to do a video on GMO safety and whether it's safe to consume GMOs. So, I've been thinking about this topic for quite a few years now. For a long time, I thought that GMOs were harmful to health, and I bought into all the propaganda that they were. But then I started questioning things once I started hearing people say that there was no evidence that they were harmful to health, and there was a lot of evidence to the contrary, and that any studies that had been done that had concluded that they were harmful had been discredited. So I decided to take, a deeper look into it, and here's some of the stuff that I found. And I'm going to start out first by defining what GMOs are and what their purpose is. So here we go. Before we begin to discuss the findings on GMOs, I'm going to quickly define what they are and why they're produced. So according to the World Health Organization, genetically modified organisms are organisms, i.e. plants, animals, and or microorganisms, in which the genetic material has been altered in a way that does not occur naturally by mating and or natural recombination. So it allows selected individual genes to be transferred from one organism into another, and also between non-related species, for example, fish DNA into a plant. Why are they produced? So according, again, to the World Health Organization, they're developed and marketed because there's a perceived advantage to the producer or the consumer of the foods. It translates into a lower price or greater benefit in terms of durability or nutritional value. So initially, GM seed developers wanted their products to be accepted by producers and have concentrated on innovations that bring direct benefit to farmers and the food industry in total. So here's two examples of a modification that makes plants more robust. One is protection against insects. So this is achieved by incorporating into the food plant gene a toxin production from the bacterium Bacillus thuringiensis. This toxin is currently used as a conventional insecticide in agriculture and is safe for human consumption. So GM crops that inherently produce this toxin have shown to require lower quantities of insecticides in specific situations, e.g. where the pest pressure or insect pressure is high. The second example is resistance against viruses. So this is achieved through the introduction of a gene from certain viruses which can cause a disease in plants. So this virus resistance makes plants less susceptible to diseases caused by such viruses, which ultimately results in higher crop yields. Are GMOs safe for human consumption? Different GM organisms include different genes inserted in many different ways. So each GM organism's safety has to be assessed on a case-by-case basis. And because of this, it makes it impossible to make blanket statements about all GMOs. And GMOs currently on the international market have passed safety assessments and are not likely to pose risks to human health at all. In addition, no adverse effects on human health have been shown in the general population of countries where GM crops have been approved. So moving on here, there was a statement released by the American Association for the Advancement of Science. The AAS Board of Directors on Labeling of GMOs. The EU has spent over £300 million on the research of GMO biosafety. The recent report stated that the main conclusion to be drawn from over 130 research projects done over 25 years involving over 500 independent research groups is that biotech, and in particular GMOs, are not more risky than conventional plant breeding technology. So there's agreement also from the World Health Organization, the American Medical Association, the U.S. National Academy of Science, the British Royal Society, and every other respected organization has come to that same conclusion. Consuming foods containing GMOs are no riskier than consuming foods containing ingredients from conventional plant breeding technologies. And these GMOs go through rigorous testing. To receive regulatory approval in the U.S., each GMO crop is subjected to rigorous analysis and testing. It has to be shown to be the same as the parent crop from which it was derived. And if a new protein traits have been added, then it has to be shown that it's neither toxic nor allergenic. So GMO crops are the most extensively tested crops that have been added to our food supply, contrary to a lot of popular opinion. There are occasional claims that feeding GM foods to animals cause aberrations ranging from digestive disorders, sterility, tumors, and premature death. Although these claims are often sensationalized by the media, there's not really any basis for them, and they've never stood up to any actual scientific scrutiny. And in a recent review of well-done, designed, long-term animal feeding studies comparing GM and non-GM potatoes, soy, rice, corn, and triticale, found that GM and their non-GM counterparts are nutritionally equivalent. So for the last part of the video, I wanted to address a specific study as well as a collaboration of studies. So the first one I wanted to address was the 2006 90-day rat feeding study done with the Yield Guard corn, or the Yield Guard rootworm corn, which is a Monsanto product. It's a grain that is protected against feeding damage caused by corn rootworm larvae, as otherwise known as MON 863. So the things that were compared in the study of the rats was the overall health, the body weight gain, food consumption, clinical pathology parameters, which included hematology, blood chemistry, and urinalysis, and then organ weights, gross and microscopic appearance of tissues, and all of these things were comparable between groups of the rats fed the diet of the MON 863 as well as the conventional corn varieties. So this study fits in and complements the other extensive agronomic, compositional, and farm animal feeding studies done with MON 863. So basically it's confirming that MON 863 is as safe and nutritious as conventional corn. And the second one I wanted to address was the results of feeding studies derived from GM plants with improved agronomic properties, which were carried out on a wide range of livestock species, which is discussed in the article. I'll link it. It's going to be linked down below with the rest of them. The studies did not show any biologically relevant differences in the parameters tested between control and test animals. So if you want to look at either one of those or any more of the other information I provided, everything will be down below. All the references will be down below. I suggest you look at it, make up your own mind, do some more research if you're so inclined. Don't just take my word for it. Go ahead and do the research. The vast majority of research that has been done almost unanimously concludes that there's no harm done by GM crops to people's health. There's no negative effects. There's no negative effects to any animals. There's really no evidence to support that, so there's no really reason at this point in time to believe anything else, unless there's something that comes up in the future that readdresses this problem and points out something that is problematic. There really isn't any reason. The entirety of the scientific community pretty much agrees on this, except for two studies that I could find that were done years ago. One was in France, another was on potatoes, and they were found to be completely incorrectly conducted. There was things about the study that were very faulty, and they were both discredited largely by the scientific community. So at this point, I'm saying be skeptical. Again, take a look at the references I provided down below. Do your own research. And lastly, I wanted to say I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much.